No name, so.
You ready, Scott? All right, let's go.
All right.
Okay, so it's 6:32. I'm going to call the February 15th DRB meeting for the city of Essex Junction to order now. And number one, are there any additions or amendments to the agenda, Jennifer?
No additions or amendments, but I can read the hybrid meeting script, if that's okay.
That would be perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll step in and do that. This meeting is a hybrid meeting held both at 2 Lincoln Street and on Zoom. Because there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or the public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by using the chat feature on Zoom or by emailing rmahoney@essexjunction.org. In the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue this meeting if necessary to the next meeting, March 21st at 6:30 p.m. at 2 Lincoln Street, Essex Junction. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. And then it says to take attendance, but all members are present except for Robert Mountain. I was just going to ask for the person who's dialed in. Robert, is that you? Just to know if you're present. And if I don't hear anything.
Might be MIA.
Hello?
Hi, this is Carla Smalley. We live at 6 Church Street. I can't get into the Zoom on YouTube, so we called in.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. All right, so we know that Robert's not here yet.
Yep.
He may be here later or absent, but
Okay.
All right, with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Good. Number two is public to be heard. This is the chance for any member of the public in person or on online to comment on something that's not on the agenda. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to the DRB at the moment about something not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to number three, review of our December 19th meeting minutes, which you all had in your packet. I had no questions or comments. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes.
You? Any second?
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Anyone else have comments? All in favor of the minutes as issued? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item three is our first public, or item four is our first public meeting. Item number one on that is a conceptual site plan to convert an existing duplex into a triplex with 2 additional parking spaces at 4 Church Street in the MF3 district by John Giroux, owner. Would the applicant and anyone else speaking on behalf of the applicant like to come up to the first chair there?
So just come up and sit right here at the table? Yeah. Okay, we'll pull over to next chair.
And I don't have my official language, but you're gonna have to raise your right hand.
I have it if you
You
want.
have it. Do you want to read it to them
Sure.
on behalf of the chair?
All right. I'm just gonna swear you in real quick. So go ahead and raise your right hand. And just repeat after me. Let's see. I hereby swear that the evidence I hereby swear that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury. So just say,
I do.
Yes.
all right.
Good. All right. So introduce yourselves for the record, and then we'd love to hear about your project.
I'm Patrick Giroux, and this is my father, John.
Yeah, John Giroux.
Wow.
So we've got the application. Normally, we have a staff report, and we do like to get a little bit of information about what you're proposing to do there. We've got a little bit of a plan. I think I'm just kind of more interested maybe in sort of on site, what happens, like what do you see from the outside? I know we're talking about adding some parking spaces. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Okay,
And is there a drawing that went with that as a site?
Yes, I have it right here. I'll pull it up. This is the existing. I'll try to scroll back and forth, and I'll pull up on. I'm working on it. It's oriented vertically. I just need to be able to get to the top of my taskbar, but I've got too many things. And then I'll just pull up Google Maps.
Is that a Essex Junction at the center of the universe or something? Is that?
All these tracking cookies, it knows where I am. Ah, here it is.
Yeah.
So here's the,
Yep.
And that's the outside picture of it.
all right. So here's the existing plan for the existing, is this the ground floor, I believe. The stairs up to the second floor. The pages over here. There are other. Here's a site plan. So the existing family dwelling, it may be a little hard to make out, so let me know if there's anything you need to see better, I'll zoom in.
the window,
Window.
and the two parking places.
So there's existing parking here, and then
Did you want?
off of Church Street, and then down this private drive, there is existing parking here, and then proposed parking in front of the existing garage.
As many times as I've driven or walked on that street, I just,
Oh my gosh, I love that house. It's so cute.
yeah. All right, so, and based on, the staff report, there are really no issues with this.
No issues that I could find. For the parking count, I just estimated that there are 3 existing parking spaces, but as you can see from the Google Maps view here, you can see that there's more room if people want to park, in tandem behind each other.
Yeah.
So this is the existing, and then the proposed, I think would be right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, right in front of the driveway, or the existing garage.
And as residents enter, they have doors at the front and the back, and do you need to, are you adding anything to the outside of the building in order to create a third entryway, or is it accessed from the same, one of the existing doors, or?
Well, there's a, there's already an entrance, okay, to the, which is different. Okay, it strictly goes to the basement. So okay, right there.
Yeah, I just found
So
it.
there's 4 steps and you're right down, okay.
So it's already,
Here.
all you gotta do is finish it off or whatever, and you've already got it's all set.
Well, a lot of it is already finished, because that's how they were, it was being used with the first floor, and the basement was used as one apartment.
I will clarify, the existing dwelling is a duplex with the basement and ground floor as one unit, and then the upper floor as a second unit. And the proposed change is to make it so that each floor is a separate unit. So the basement is one, the ground floor is one, upper floor is one.
And it looks like you're just changing really you're adding a bathroom and a kitchen to the basement.
Yes,
Is that what it looks like? Which used to be the laundry room
that's
of
right.
the basement for the
Yeah.
one unit.
And I gotta change the window in the bedroom, okay, so it's accessible, for fire.
Egress.
Okay.
So I
that's what
got,
was gonna-
I got,
That's the only thing on the outside
Yeah.
that's actually changing.
Okay. So when you
Where-
go from a duplex to a triplex, are there other fire code things that kick in? Because now it's like a small apartment building instead of just a duplex. Have you?
Well, still under the fire marshal
Yeah.
laws, anything over a duplex.
Yeah.
So 2 or more, so it's
Yeah.
still,
Okay. Any other lights or anything else getting added to the outside of the building?
the power panel has to be changed
Mm-hmm.
because you're going from a 2 to a 3. So
Yeah,
other than that,
Like other exhausts, like with the, now that you have a kitchen in the basement. I don't know. Do you have to add any exhausts? I have no
Plumbing or
idea what you're talking
ventilation?
about. I'm just thinking there'd be more.
but you have your exhaust for your bathroom.
Yeah, and for like kitchen.
Well, it's electric. There's no
Okay.
gas in there.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
yes.
Is there just one point of egress, or are there multiple points of egress from the basement?
It's just one door and then the egress window that has to be installed.
Yeah, okay.
I just had one question on the staff proposed conditions, and that was the parking area shall be of hard surface or gravel. Does it matter? Is there a requirement in our code that it be paved, or is
I don't think that I'm not sure off the top of my head, I can check. But I do remember that it was on the application that you requested gravel or you suggested gravel.
yeah, I did.
So it was his preference for that. I can check in the LDC and see if that's required or anything, but
I feel like there's a requirement, but I don't want to overstep my authority. So I would say that you've got a basic condition that says you got to comply with the LDC. So if it turns out you need a paved parking area, then it would just have to be paved.
okay. I will pull that up. Sorry, I've got too many windows open right now. I'll just move back a little bit.
So I don't mind just putting that in as a condition that the project will comply with the requirements of the LDC. And I think we should I'd like to see this on every application where there's a additional reviewing authority involved, like the fire marshal. We should kind of make sure we remind them that they have an obligation to go satisfy those other authorities. So something to that effect, I think is good, and I have no problem.
I'll add that in as a condition for the zoning permit. That's for that has to comply with the fire marshal or Vermont state fire safety restrictions.
And does that like mean that our fire department or
No,
they do
no,
a walkthrough or the state?
It's like a single family home, and sometimes a duplex doesn't need to be. There are very few regulations in
Yeah.
fire and building safety code, but once you hit sort of the next tier, then they kick in.
So
So
before it's occupied, a state fire official.
They have to do an
walk through.
inspection.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right.
anyone else? Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on the project? Anyone online like to comment on the project?
Yes, this is Carla Smalling at 6 Church Street, we're next door.
Okay.
We've lived in this house for 38 years. I think Don bought it probably the week after we bought our home. And I have to say, in those 38 years, there's been a fair amount of activity in that apartment building. There's been police called on multiple occasions. The last tenant that was there, I guess, trashed the place. The debris and the garbage and just stuff all over the house outside was horrendous. And that's not a new thing that's happened over the years. You know, there's been some good tenants. I'll tell you, the majority of the tenants in the last 38 years have not treated that property very well, and some of them have just been very bad news. So that is a concern now that you're going to add another apartment to that house. I know there was a tenant a couple of years ago that got the fire marshal involved because there were no railings on the upper porch. And there was mold issue, and it's just been kind of an ongoing issue that we've noticed, and this is not a new problem. So that's our 2 cents.
Are there any outstanding violations on this property? Either city, issues or other? Do we know?
None that I could find. So
Okay. I mean, there may not be if there haven't been any citations issued. I think there's a rule that says if you have any, you can't apply for another permit. So, but if there aren't any, there's. I'm not sure exactly what the we've run into this a number of times. The planning commission or the DRB isn't really the enforcement wing of the city, so we don't really have a way to do much about the complaints. But I think city council has been an avenue, and certainly we are trying to beef up our enforcement in general as a city. So if there are complaints and things that we should be doing, your best bet is to get after the city officials, not the planner so much as the people in charge of the enforcement. So I'll leave that with Jennifer.
Okay, and the parking, I guess as it is now, the parking basically has room for 2 cars. So going forward, they're gonna have to be tandem? So they're not taking the garage down?
It looked like there were 3 cars parked there already, unless I was missing something on the Google picture. Is one of the driveways maybe not part of that house? It belongs next door.
no,
That's our house, yeah. So they have a single driveway that goes along the side of their house, as do we, and there's no divider between the 2.
So they'll be responsible for, according to the application, 5 parking spaces. The city has regulations on what those parking spaces are, and some can be tandem. So they'll be required to create and demarcate somehow those 5 spaces before they'll have a certificate of occupancy.
oh, well, actually the requirement is they're only required to have 3 parking spaces, which they have already, or at least sufficient room.
1
for.
per unit. So
Yeah,
they're
1 per
asking
unit.
for 5.
They wanted to add on 2.
Yeah, so in my opinion, if they are saying they're going to create 5, we want to see 5, or we should tell them they don't need 5. So
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify here. So then this driveway, hold on, can you see my mouse? Yeah. This driveway that I'm circling here, this is on the property, on your property?
Yes, that
Okay.
is.
So how many parking spaces would you say that the finished proposal, or the finished version of this would have? Because you're proposing the 2 here. Is it accurate to say that there will be approximately, or that there will be 5 parking spaces, or?
Actually, you could be 6.
Yeah.
Okay, because see, the driveway on the right, okay, there's more than 2. You can put 2 cars there.
Gotcha.
And then, right, if you go back on the other side,
Yeah, here.
okay, yeah, right there, see, right there, you put 2 side by side,
Yeah.
okay? And then the other one, I'm putting 2 more, adding 2 more, so that's 6 right there.
Yeah. Which is much more than you'll actually need. You're only
Yeah.
required to have 3.
But it's nice to have 2 parking places per apartment.
All right. Understandable.
And 6 is the one down here to the bottom right of
That
the
would be
screen.
this
Yeah.
Is that
driveway.
right?
Yeah,
Yes. All right.
anything else from the audience?
Is there a place where the trash is going to be, is there a trash receptacle somewhere?
I'm guessing there's one now, but I don't know where it is.
Where's the trash receptacle?
each one, each apartment has their own
Like a
bins. Yeah, and they're usually, they put them in the back,
Here,
you know,
somewhere around here.
uh, right under, right,
By the
where the
garage.
porch is.
Oh, by the porch. Okay.
Yeah, right there, yeah, right,
Where that car is, the blue car,
where the blue car is.
Blue car,
there's a
this one.
porch with enough space to line up the trash and recycling.
Yeah,
Okay.
And is that trash collected on the basis of the apartment building, or is it on the individual owners to?
individual, each individual unit, that handles their own trash.
How is, do you plow the property or is there? And where does where do you, is it, does it accumulate somewhere?
I'm sorry?
Look, when you plow, are you plowing into the property or?
Yes,
and then
so
where
from
is
the
it?
road on the right-hand side where that car is, it gets plowed up to the barn.
Okay.
And then from the other side, it gets plowed across the right-of-way, because that property is also.
Yeah, and in some cases, okay, I have the tenant do their own because sometimes it's too difficult. So right now, the one there where, you know, with the blue car and the other one, right now, they do their own.
And if they don't, is that a requirement in the lease? And I mean, I'm just imagining the case where somebody ignores the trash.
And all that's in the lease.
It's in the lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's not really, I mean, you already have a functioning building doing this already, so we're not necessarily trying to pick it apart, but I guess if we hear there are issues, we can always require or ask that these things be improved or shown on the plan, or, you know, is there a screening requirement around the trash at some point? You know, not everybody does that in residential stuff, but as soon as you hit 3, you might be regulated.
I didn't include the trash requirements. I should have that on here. Yeah, the requirement in the LDC is that I was on this chapter earlier today.
So how about we add that to the items that we'll check on and include in the catch-all that you have to comply with the LDC?
Oh,
So,
here I am. Yeah, I'll add that on.
And is there an opportunity to add a screening requirement? I'm just thinking of.
Here. So LDC, it's section 706J, includes that all dumpsters or trash containers located within any district shall be screened from view from the public right-of-way by non-transparent fence and/or landscaping materials to a height of 6 feet. Dumpsters shall be covered and drain plugs shall be installed. Yeah, so the screening is already a requirement here.
yeah, it's, I mean, if it's an apartment building with a real dumpster, it means more to me than if it's, you know, individual
Individual
apartments
bins.
with their trash cans could be, you know,
Yeah,
small 30-gallon things. I just,
yeah.
we need a little clarification on that so we know what we're trying to ask these guys to do.
Okay. Let's see.
What happens to the tenants during renovation? Is there,
What's
what
that?
happens to the tenants during renovation? If you're gonna, do they?
Oh, they were gone.
Oh, there's no tenant. Okay.
Anything else?
This is Carla Smalley again at 6th Church Street. I can't see, but again, the driveway that runs along the side of the house, I don't know how you're going to fit 2 cars and then 2 cars behind it because it's a single driveway. I understand the 2 parking spots that are off the right of way that goes to the doctor's office, but to then put 2 cars up to the barn and 2 cars behind it, it doesn't fit. I mean, after 38 years, I know what cars can fit there. And in the wintertime with snow, absolutely not. So is it gonna be 4 in a row, like tandem? Because the driveway is the same size as ours, and we cannot fit 2 cars in that one driveway side by side.
Of the driveway, which is really the
The one in the rear of the property.
in the rear of the, so the tandem parking is end on end, so one behind the other, which is fine. And
That's not changing the drive around the house, so it's on the right of way side, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There is a question from someone on Zoom. Marcus Serta has joined, and he asks in the chat, is there a limitation on percentage of impermeable surface on properties in the LDC? The answer is yes. This proposed change will cover 22%, so the lot coverage will be at 22%. The maximum allowable lot coverage in this district is 40%, so it is well under the requirement.
Thank you. I mean, in a lot of ways, this is about adding a couple of parking spaces, which they don't actually need. I guess I would close the public hearing unless anybody else has one last comment. All right, let's close the public hearing. All in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. So the public hearing's closed. I would entertain a motion to approve this with the staff comments and conditions as proposed, including the additional comments that we made.
On fire and trash, yes, I will have those in.
A motion to approve this, as John stated.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
You.
So I was supposed to say this maybe at the beginning of the meeting, but I do have a conflict with the next item.
So, thank you.
Thank you. And so I have to step away and come in and present the improvements to Lincoln Hall. And so one of you gets to take over as acting chair for,
I'm not ready.
I'm gonna say he's staring at you, so I think.
I know, I think it's
Because
you.
Robert usually sits here.
You're the closest.
I'll leave it, we haven't really rehearsed this, so
right, I've
I'm
got
gonna
that
leave it up to you to work it out. Is there a designated alternate when the vice chair is not here?
No, it's usually just the vice chair. After that, it's either by seniority or choice, so you can.
We all have the same exact seniority.
I'm happy to do it if nobody else wants, but
I mean, I have no idea what he does, so I'll let you.
I'm fine
I'm
with
gonna
you
make
doing
sure I make it too.
Alright.
You're the closest to the chair, so we'll vote you in.
I was all for doing it, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't know what he does.
And this is on the
The
2
Lin-
Lincoln Street, the renovation. I guess he's doing the design. Is he the design? Is he the architect?
So,
The architect. Oh, good.
yeah, as he's chair of the committee as well as the architect for this project, he had to recuse himself and like step out.
Leave that door and come in that one.
He didn't have to.
So
but
he's like a
if he wanted
different-
to
Was that a
step out.
dramatic choice?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was a dramatic choice.
good choice. I approve. But yeah, so that just in this way that whenever we're discussing this matter, of course, we could, like with the architect and stuff, and that you guys.
Meeting now?
Dylan.
Chairing the meeting.
Right.
Okay, so we are here to have a renovation design review for 2 Lincoln Street. We have a witness. Would you like to walk us through the plans?
You have to swear in.
I would.
Do we need to swear you in?
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
swear me in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've got the.
Now you
got
do
the
that,
script.
yeah.
Harlan, are you gonna join us?
I had not planned on it, but I'm
Oh.
happy to sit out there just in case.
Well, anybody who may be speaking to this should be sworn in.
Sir, we have control of the floor right now. You don't need to direct. I'm just-
Jen, swear me in, just.
All right, I'll swear you both in. So go ahead and raise your right hand as this humble group again. All right. I hereby swear that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but help me God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I swear.
All right.
Okay. I'm John Alden, presenter for Scott and Partners, who did the plans for, I will say, minor exterior improvements and a little more dramatic on the interior for upcoming modifications to support Lincoln Hall as our municipal city government building. So generally what this project entails, and you have drawings mostly of the site plan and of the exterior, in that you don't really have a ton of purview inside, but the big issue is we're adding an elevator and we're reconfiguring the town clerk's office and offices upstairs to better support the flow of city government. But the elevator is a big deal because this building has never been fully accessible. It will go from the basement to the second floor. There are minor improvements on the second floor, including parts of the teen center. The elevator is going to go across the hall over here on the other side of the stairs, where we're kind of getting into what is currently the senior center. And we'll also be adding additional bathrooms and other community features, including probably the biggest exterior change is a new vestibule on the outside of the building. So I don't know if you noticed as you came in tonight, but the outside has got cones and snow barriers, and the sidewalks approach is a wreck. All that would be repaired, fixed up. The vestibule will actually protect entry from the falling snow off of the slope roofs above, so that's a big improvement. And it is designed to actually reinforce the existing architecture of the building. So we've got an arch on the front of the building where almost nobody ever comes in, but there's a little porch out there with a nice little arch that lines up with the lobby here all the way through. And so we're just going to show a little bit of that on the new outside. And the plans call for a little arch ceiling in that whole lobby area, which will be the prime public interface location. So you come in either from the front or from the back parking lot, and you could, get your licenses or look at your planning and zoning material, pay a bill, what have you, from the lobby. If you need to, you'll be able to continue on with supervision into the back to get to the vault and research documents and so on there, or meet with the city manager or other city officials. So the flow changes quite a bit in that we're concentrating the public in center portion of the building, and then leaving them fully capable of wandering into the front area of the this area here. The conference room will still be here, no changes to this room, and that you can see the elevator. I don't have a pointer. What am I going to do without a pointer? All right, so you're pointing. Okay.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. So.
The vestibule, as we've mentioned.
Plan have you got?
I think this is for the, this is the first floor.
So see, this is, if I point to the screen over here, which is the one I can reach, they can't see. But
Are we in the conference room?
Yeah.
you're in the, yeah,
Trying to
you're in the-
see
yeah,
where.
Yeah.
So
you're in the
Yeah,
con. Yeah. So from the conference room, you can.
across the hall and the
Yeah,
elevator.
across the hall's the elevator. You see two new bathrooms there. One of them is in the senior center, and one of them is a public bathroom.
Both
I
of
don't
those,
think-
both of those are
I
public
don't.
bathrooms.
Yeah, there's some drawings there that aren't quite
But isn't it?
point. There's a hallway between the back of the elevator and the remaining room of the senior center that is a public corridor that will allow the senior center people through into the senior center or the public. Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
right there.
Right there. It's the graphics are a little. There's a firewall there, just in case you want to know what the black dots are locations where there's a firewall.
Oh.
Okay, or a fire barrier, or rated construction that separates one place from another. So the senior center, and then when we get upstairs, the teen center, the big room over the teen center, that's essentially a separate building. It was originally constructed as a fire station, by the way. You might be able to find pictures of this kind of thing if you're paying attention to the pictures that are sitting along the hallway walls out there. So that remains kind of able to function on its own. It has its own exits. They have their own bathroom, but this would give just a little bit more option for anybody who's using either side.
So isn't currently you're using, there's offices that are currently being used in the senior sitting room, right? So that's currently not being used by the senior center because
It's already
already been
it's
like-
already been
like
essentially.
Ashley sits in there, her office is in,
Yeah.
is in where like one of the bathrooms is going to be. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just trying to like orient myself.
No,
Yeah,
that's good.
um,
Yeah.
Yeah, the elevator and the two
Yeah.
bathrooms are in the area where Joanne and Ashley.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. You can see that the very end room, which will end up being storage, that's where Regina sits.
Okay.
That's Regina's office.
Yep.
So the elevator, the hallway, and the two additional bathrooms and the drinking fountain will all be located in that area where Ashley sits.
Okay.
So again, focusing on the things outside, including the vestibule. So the 4 gray squares with the circles in them are part of the mechanical system. So those are essentially the outdoor air conditioners or the condensing units. This building has never had reasonable air conditioning or, really temperature control other than the steam heat. This room is the exception, has a mini split sticking through the wall there, and the other units on the outside, we're going to leave that. So the rest of the building essentially is getting all this new equipment in order to take care of the mechanical and ventilation loads for the rest of the building. The generator is the white rectangle just above those units. It's so important to things in and around this building that it has to stay. We looked at moving it. It's outrageous to move it. That runs the lights at 5 corners and the fire station. So I think there's one other thing that it runs, but so if that's not there, things are bad, right? 5 corners comes to a halt, which has only happened about 3 times since I've been here. The vault is there's a transformer right next to the vault. The vault has the red lines around it, square there. Transformer also stays. We'll be bringing new cabling to that, but the transformer vault can stay. All of the current switchgear that's mounted to which is the electrical boxes and panels and so forth, that's mounted to the side of the vault. So that's all going to move into the basement of Lincoln Hall. And the people that used to work in the basement of Lincoln Hall will be moved up out of the basement. So it's only for, let's say there'll still be some file storage, flat files, and the big drawings and stuff that's still down there. But people won't be working in the basement on a regular basis any longer. They'll have offices either on the first floor or on the second floor. There's the open stair now. If you go into the clerk's area, there's an open stairway to the basement. That gets moved because there's no second stairway currently from the second floor that goes anywhere. The fire escape outside. The fire escape comes off. The door that goes to the fire escape that used to be a window goes back to being a window. The stair exit path from the second floor remains the open stair in the front, which is legal, and a new enclosed stairway in the back, which will come down right next to the vault.
Through this
It will all go right to the basement, so if you're in the basement, you can go up there. If you're on the second floor, you'll come down there, and then there's a protected exit way through the middle of the office, out the original front door of that back section, which is currently chained off. It's not really used.
But good for an emergency.
Yeah, so it should be an emergency. It's really an emergency exit. No one would normally use it. It won't be an entry. It won't look any different than it does now, except there won't be a chain across the stairs.
A slight difference right now, the stairway does not have cement in it in front of it at the moment. It just has mulch. We'll be adding the sidewalk to go to that stairway now, since it's going to be an emergency egress.
Okay.
You mentioned the running new cables to the transformer. Is that from the structure to the transformer, or is that from utility lines?
I think it's the whole utility line. So our power comes off a pole. It comes through conduit underground. They just replaced that 2 years ago.
So from the pole to the transformer, they just replaced it a couple of years ago, and there was some discussions between our electrical engineer and Green Mountain Power. We believe those primary lines coming to the transformer are sufficient as is. The changes that we're gonna make are from the transformer away from the side of the vault. We're gonna continue underground, come into the basement, bring all of that switchgear into the basement, and get rid of that eyesore on the side of the vault.
Okay. So you don't think you'll have to upgrade what's currently in the conduit?
So it's our understanding at this point from Green Mountain Power and our electrical engineer, we believe we're good, depending on what the overall electrical load on the building comes out to believe. We believe that's going to be 800 amps or less.
Okay.
And we believe everything there will support that service.
And what's the
Right now?
Yeah.
I believe we're 600 at the moment, so it's going to be a 200 increase.
And that is primarily for the elevator, which,
Elevator and the HVA equipment.
so, and I think we have some images of the outside there.
Yes. I've got, do you mean the 3D renderings over here?
Well, they're all kind of packed onto one page, so there's
There's
just
the new vestibule.
scroll up just a hair, yeah. So there's the new vestibule. We really tried hard to get the generator out of the way, but
site
it
plan.
doesn't seem to be in the cards. So there's the vestibule in the corner. You can see it's styled generally in the way we took a lot of clues from the existing brick portion of Lincoln Hall. There's a decorative band. You can't see it on the color photo, but it's on the, I'll call it the north end facing the library, and around the front there's a decorative banding up there, which we're reintroducing along the just over the entry door there. You can see that. The arch is the same arch that's on the other side of the building. The rest of it is just our imagination. The parking lot and the curbing isn't accurate. This is one of those 3D models where not everybody has control of the site plan. So just imagine that being the parking lot. There's a curb there. The curb disappears at some point. And the stamped concrete walkway that's out there now will probably be restored or turned into just concrete. I think we might be able to see that on the site plan if people want to go back to that.
A little bit. Do you mean the 3D?
No, the actual 2D site plan that came from the city engineer. Yeah.
Back over here. Oh yeah, here we
That one
go.
right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's there's still plenty of stamped concrete there, and then the actual sidewalk is going to be concrete, which is a little nicer on the wheelchairs and so forth. The hand trucks or the delivery guys that don't like going over the joints and the stamp stuff as much. So there's an entry piece of concrete, and then there's what's item number 1 on the drawing is the actual vestibule. So I think it's restriped. Looks like he's going to restripe back there.
That whole area needs to be restriped and redone. The grades of where the door is located to make it ADA compliant is considerably higher than where the sidewalk. So there's a lot going on there in order to try to maintain our proper ADA slope into the parking lot. So that whole section is going to require, I wouldn't say a considerable amount of grading. It's actually a minor within the parking lot itself, but within the sidewalk and the stamped concrete, there's some considerable trickiness that we've had to use to get those angles just right for the ADA to go from the door height down to where the parking lot is.
And so will the door be accessible? And will it be like you could, handicap accessible? You could
It'll have the
it
push button,
up,
handicap
so
accessible.
automatically
Yep,
open.
it'll
And
have
it's
the
all
automatic
wide
opens.
enough for all
It's
of
up.
that?
Yep.
Okay. And then what about the walkway somehow being connected over to the library? 'Cause I feel like there's really no,
Way over here.
you
We,
know,
we actually looked at that early
Yeah.
on, and we really couldn't find
Yeah.
a great way to create a walkway. We can barely get the cars in those areas
Yeah.
at the moment.
okay.
So we have not been able to find, we even looked at like trying to, I'm assuming you were thinking maybe right in behind the vault on top of the curb.
Well,
to try to go
yeah, because
over.
I mean, you're walking through the park. It would just be nice if it kind of
Yeah,
just some
unfortunately,
way.
we were not able to find a path that you could,
sort of connected them all, just in the idea that we want to connect all the sidewalks everywhere else.
There's physically not enough room
yeah.
to get a legitimate walkway through there. It's not
Yeah.
wide enough. And so the only way to do it is to start pushing the parking spaces out further, which means you lose all of the parking spaces on one side or the other.
Yeah, given that the generator here can't move, so.
Yeah.
And can you paint the generator a mural?
We all want to. But
Are you? Does it have to stay white? Is it?
I don't
mean,
think so.
we
I
should
I
use
was
that as
thinking
public
it's a-
art right there.
I don't think if, let me check to see if Chris included it. We talked about wraps for the generator.
Yeah, that would be cool.
The possibility.
there was a city council meeting where they thought about putting black dots on it, making it look like a cow.
Okay. Could be somehow a way to connect it to the library.
Yeah. Just incidentally, the city is evaluating the entry to the library again. So that
Because
may
I
be
think there's a
improved
curve
over
right,
there, but
like when you come down from there, is there a curve? You go into the library right here.
There's a curb, but it goes all the way, it's ADA, it
But it
actually, the
doesn't
ramp
come, it
and
doesn't come towards this building.
the ramp.
the accessible entry to the library is actually the back door.
Is the back.
door, yeah.
So this new one that we're in the process of designing at the moment will make this side entrance ADA accessible from all the way from the bus stop.
Yep.
And it'll redo the ADA accessibility from the back parking lot.
Yeah.
To
So
come
if you're
around to
like-
this side as well.
And then to come to this building, sort of. or
I mean, through the slight ramp and going through the parking lot, yes, you would be
Yeah.
able to come to this
Yeah.
building. Which is there now, but the steepness, you can't get, from the sidewalk, you can't get a wheelchair
Yeah.
straight up onto
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah.
This new design will incorporate it so that you can you could take a wheelchair from this building, go straight across over and be able to get onto the ramp and go up into
Oh,
the
okay,
library.
okay, yeah, because I think that's important, to kind of make them all.
There is one small proposed change to the front of the building, which is in the porch. So you remember you have that entry lobby and you have, you can see it in the drawings. But there's one window now underneath the, the arch of that porch. And I was gonna do a little more investigation. Yeah.
Oh, that's the drawing you were talking about before. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, it's on that page.
Yep, it's not that porch.
Not this one, it's the
Yeah, I
other.
think it is
this
on that
one.
page, so.
Yep, I've just bumped over too far.
Oh, the
Yep,
one with the
oh, you
fire
almost
escape
had
with
it,
the
that
fire
picture that, yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
the tiny
Yeah.
little thing. So we're proposing to add another window there in order to create a larger opening in the arch. and get more daylight into that lobby. It seemed to make sense. There's a janitor's closet there now, so that kind of is why there isn't, more than the one window. I guess I'm personally still a little bit on the fence, about it, because in some cases, you're really not supposed to alter the exterior features of a historic building that much. But if we can even find a sliver of evidence that suggests that there was a bigger opening there, then it's probably okay. So that it's a good idea. We think it's a good idea for the use of the space. The building has been, manipulated and changed and altered
Yeah.
many, many times over its long and meaningful, business. It's been so many things, it's hardware stores and taverns and inns and so forth. So anyway, we're saying that's a good idea. We may have a little bit of work to do to convince everybody else that it can happen. But we should just make sure people are aware of it. There aren't really any other changes to the exterior of the building proposed. The entire building was repointed and the masonry was repaired and the chimneys were repaired and the roofing tightened up. I don't know, 5 to 8 years ago or something.
Yeah, it's been somewhere around 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So
Time flies.
yeah. So that's really the biggest changes will all be in the rear, and they really support the functionality of the use of this building as a municipal office. So the place to drop your payments and vote and so forth, all those services will occur at the vestibule. The vestibule's generous, so people that are waiting for a ride or something, they can, there'll be a bench out there and plenty of windows to look through.
And I'm just gonna circle on the plans. This is the area that you were talking about, the added window,
Yep.
where you can see the outline for the existing janitor's closet there around the corner, which would be changed in this way.
So that's being just condensed into a smaller.
And it looks like,
Well, the janitor's closet goes away altogether, and what you're looking at there are the duct chases that will take the ductwork from the basement up to the first, second floor. So we don't have enough room in the attics, or we thought about putting some of these units on the roof. That you have to, reinforce the roof. So, and you see them on top of the roof, that flat section of roof. So the current plan is to put some in the basement and to have some of the other units out by the generator.
I
I think in theory we get together too.
We should at some point get together, yeah.
Yeah.
Planning commission?
Nothing else.
With the planning commission?
Yeah.
Well,
Nah.
well, actually, what I like to have is actually have as Raj Challa talked about having email addresses, it'd be nice to have a corporate email address versus using my private email address to deal with stuff, because unlike
Recording in progress.
oh, are you getting back online? Oh, you're back in. Okay. Sweet. Yeah, I turned on audio over here so that in case, because I wasn't sure where the audio was coming from. So now that he's back in.
Well, somehow we got sorted out.
I was gonna say, we seem to be back.
Yes, that's fine.
Make sure.
Also, thank you, Marcus, for letting us know that Zoom is still working. The YouTube head start. Yeah, YouTube has restarted. Okay, so it should be available.
Yay.
Now I can continue with what you're saying.
Okay, I was just, just in case we need something on the recording end of things, the question was about bike parking. And it potentially being a requirement through the planning, which I am personally unaware of it, although we've been entertaining the idea and looking for areas to put it in. Because I'm fighting within a budget, I'm trying to find out what my requirement is. So bike parking, if I was to have, like in the stamped concrete area, a concreted bike rack that they can secure their bikes to, does that satisfy
Yes.
the requirement?
Yes.
That's a no-brainer. We'll
The
make sure it's not.
employees, on the other hand, might like to have, a place where they could securely put their bicycles, but I think we'd have to discuss.
And I-
with
Well, we have
management.
this wonderful basement down there.
Right.
Now has access with a
Now that there's an
elevator.
elevator, you could.
And we have the elevator, and the interesting part about the elevator is the public will not be allowed to get into the basement via the elevator.
Oh, okay.
But employees will be. The elevator will be keyed to get into the basement. So as far as employee bike parking, I believe a place in the basement. And I would still, the fire department uses this storage space out here for some materials. But if it's not required, I would still like to look at that as a sheltered bike area for the public as well.
I'll just highlight
Well,
that here.
especially if you have the teen center upstairs.
Correct.
It would be nice to have them,
That's, okay.
those
Yeah,
that,
that door.
that do bike, be able to have some place.
But I think if we take a look at that stamped concrete
Yeah.
area for the
I'll
entranceway
scroll
coming
back.
in,
It's got the door on
I
there
believe
as
there's
well.
plenty of room there to put a
Yeah, the door's-
cemented in place bike rack similar to what we have at Maple Street Park.
Yeah, right over here around where the four.
Yes, that's
is
what I
on
was
this
thinking,
edge.
right in that area.
Yeah. I'll check what the exact thing is off the top of my head. I think for commercial establishments, it's a minimum of 4 exterior, but I'll check. That might be in the.
I'm gonna say the one that I'm thinking
So
about.
there's a,
It looks like we have a question from the
Yeah,
public in the Zoom chat.
Let's see, one new message. Let's see. Right, Marcus Serta says, do you need the bike location on the property or can it be over on the library side?
may want both.
Yeah, it
was gonna
seems
say,
I
like,
think that it would,
yeah.
You
the
want
regulation would be.
For the
for
regulation,
the
I think it
would
would
have
be
to build
this building.
And the
Yeah.
and in the new design of the library
Yeah.
has a new bike location as well,
Okay.
for securing. So there'll be bike locations at both the entrance in the library, and here at this location.
The previous bike location had been in front of those white doors. It had been there before it got
Correct.
removed.
Correct. And as we can see in the plans, I think that's where it's going to go back. The difference is, it will not be a bike rack that just sits there that's gonna be movable.
Right.
It'll be a permanent in ground planted. We have them over at Maple Street Park and they're extremely convenient,
Yeah.
if placed correctly.
It's good to know if there's enough room for bikes.
Well, we
And I'm
do
glad
have
to hear that.
bike-friendly community.
Yes, very much. And the idea that the basement will be available is nice too, because right now it's a little bit of a spooky basement, so I'm looking forward to it being a nice.
I didn't say it was gonna be a nice basement. I said there'd be room for bikes.
It's fair. Fair
It'll be
enough.
nicer than it
Well,
looks right now.
the
I'll take it.
1970s vintage Little League stuff can go away.
We've already, so Parks and Recreation has worked with Little League and we're finding storage space for them over there. So they'll no longer be using the basement. The senior center is downgrading on the amount of stuff, that they were keeping in the basement. So that space requirement will be minimal, if not disappear altogether.
Nice.
So yeah, we've looked at the uses that's been going on down there and the majority of it is going away and will be
Well,
utilized for the municipality
well,
itself.
Clerk's office will need some because they've been using the vault over at the town. And that stuff will have to come in-house.
So the vault in the basement still continues to work. And we have the vault here, so yes, and then there will be potentially some other,
Yeah, they're miscellaneous.
there
things
is some
that
other,
come
which
in
will
the vault.
probably happen over on the other side where planning is. There is some talk about moving some of the planning documents and files to digital so that we're not taking up as much space with 12 to 20 filing cabinets that we have there.
We have a long history.
And and it'll be a long time before we get it all cleaned up, but that is the process the city is moving into to become more efficient, more effective.
There are so many filing cabinets down there. I really do look forward to the possibility of getting everything organized. I'll keep dreaming, but yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the public? Should we close the public comment period then?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, it
look
doesn't look
for
like
a
anything
motion
else.
For that?
I motion to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so DRB, we have a fairly narrow scope here, which is, I believe, I'll look for direction from staff to determine whether or not the proposal is in line with 604E. So if it makes sense, maybe we can walk through each of those criteria and check them off.
Give me just a second to get that pulled up. I'll screen share to get that set up. So 604 subsection E over here is involves design review and historic preservation. The
I think it goes down to 4.
yeah,
Yeah, 4B.
I'm just skimming through it. So
E4B.
purpose is just saying the point. Yeah, 2 specifically 4B. Applicability 3. Yes, design district design requirements. So
Okay. So historic character of property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alterations of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. Seems to me that the proposal meets that criteria. Folks agree?
Yep.
Each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjectural features or architectural elements from other buildings, shall not be undertaken.
sorry, I think I'm in the wrong section. Which section are you reading from?
604EB.
Is it E4B?
E4B, yes.
E.
Apparently dyslexic.
Oh yeah, thanks. Oh, there you go, because I was on A. So
I think that's
then-
right. But
Oh yeah,
just-
because this kind of breaks up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
B, there it is.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
So as the witnesses
This
have
is part 2.
pointed out, the building has changed over the course of time, but they have made, I think, a very strong effort to incorporate some of the elements in the facade of the vestibule that's being added. Also, personally like bringing some of the stairways inside, removing the
Removing the
fire
stair.
escape,
Mhm.
and generally improving, from my perspective, the aesthetic appeal of the kind of back parking lot area,
Yeah.
while keeping in line with the historic nature of the building itself.
I agree.
Okay, moving on to the next. Most properties change over time. Those changes that have acquired historic significance in their own right shall be retained and preserved. Does not appear that the plan makes any significant changes in that space, with maybe the one exception of that additional window, which brings some light into the entryway and
Yeah.
I don't believe significantly changes the historic nature. There's already a window there.
Yeah. I'd say that it seems like a positive change. It is kind of in keeping with the style. It's relatively small change to the overall external facade. I don't see any issues with it.
Distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques are examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property shall be preserved. I believe the vestibule matches the design elements of the existing building. Again, the incorporation of the design there. Deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. When the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities where possible. Replacement of missing features shall be substantiated by documentary, physical, or pictorial evidence.
Seems like it's doing that pretty well, especially the window upstairs that was converted into a door is converted back into the same style of window. So, I think that's good. Yeah, that's a good example of that.
And we heard that roof and many other areas of the building have kind of recently been retouched.
Recently retouched, repaired, all that. And of course, also the decisions regarding the HVAC system with the new pieces that have to be kind of out front, doing that in rather than the alternative of altering the roof further. So that still also goes in that direction of trying to preserve what we currently have rather than altering it extensively. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and they seem to be kind of behind the existing generator, so talk about screening for the generator, but this generator is in and of itself kind of a screen for the addition of those units.
Yeah.
New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. I don't think we heard about any historical features being destroyed, taken away. Appears to be additive. My impression.
Well, other than the existing kind of covered walkway in the front, but then
right.
just changing that into a new vestibule. And then there were actually 2 points above this. I don't know if you skipped them on purpose or.
Probably not. No.
Okay, just wanted to look it up. Yeah, the chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting that cause damage to historic materials shall not be used. The surface cleaning of structures, if appropriate, shall be undertaken using the gentlest means possible. I don't think sandblasting is intended.
Really
So.
good, yeah.
Yeah, so that one's good. And then the other one also doesn't seem to be as relevant of significant archaeological resources affected by a project shall be protected and preserved. If such resources must be disturbed, mitigation measures shall be undertaken. So if we find anything significant archaeologically, we'll take those measures. But granted, with the location and the scale of this renovation, it's highly unlikely. So yeah, probably not relevant at all. And then I'll hand it back to you for number 10.
Okay. New additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired.
Yeah, so I think that's possible. Do you think?
Yeah, even where the vestibule is going in, if that was to be removed, because it's going to be attached to the current walls that are there.
Right.
Yeah.
It would literally be detached from those walls, that those brick surfaces would be repaired and filled in. And the exterior of the building would come right back to what it originally was.
Yeah, and then of course just retouching the siding on the outside. So.
And we're doing that where we're removing the fire escape. All of those bricks will be repaired where that fire escape's been mounted to the side of the building.
Great.
So we're taking care to make sure, I'm in love with this building, so we're trying to make sure that we take care of the features in it.
It is a lovely building.
It is, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Is there a reason on the staff report when looking at page 2, going into 3, so starting at number 3, where it's section 604E4A states, and then it starts listing everything. We get 1 through 4, but there's a 5, and 5 isn't on here.
Let me see this. 4E4A. A is up here. I gotta fix that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's just because 5 is on the next page of the LDC, so it might have just gotten cut off here at 4. So 5 is site features and design shall promote cycling, which is something we've already talked about.
Catch.
Cycling, walking, and transit as viable means of transportation and recreation for residents, consumers, visitors, and employees. Appropriate for the location of the application. Features shall include at least 2 or more of the following, or something like. So this is probably why we didn't have this in the staff report. left this section off. But yeah, pedestrian access directly from the building to the public sidewalk, which we established with the extension of the existing sidewalk in the front. Pocket park with benches or similar amenities between public realm and the private building. As you talked about, the bench in the vestibule provides a place for people to sit and wait for anyone they may be waiting for, or someone to pick them up. Public art murals or interactive games. Interactive games sounds fun. But like I said, there's the option of applying a wrap to the generator if we wanted to turn it into a mural. Covered bus shelter and shade trees. We have trees, we're not removing anything or adding any, and then the bus shelters is down that way.
I have a question about the wrap. If that were to be something that's pursued, who kind of approves the visual design of that wrap?
I am not sure. Off the top of my head, I would guess it would be the planning commission or perhaps city council. Maybe I'm not entirely sure where that would fall.
Not that they would, I think,
Do you know
pick
that?
an offensive rap, but could be source of discussion among the residents. So
So far, the only discussion the planning commission has been trying to encourage public art murals and things.
Yeah,
I'm guessing if the DRB knows what they are doing, they would hopefully involve
likely.
the city council in this.
Yes.
It's a public art project.
Yes, yeah, likely be that way. And I know that we've talked about it in the planning commission with the latest changes to the section on signs. There is a section on murals. So if that was adapted, this would count as a mural and would have to comply to those parts of the new section, which again, we're just still in processing, editing, and hasn't been adapted yet. But timeline wise, if that was adapted first, then, or adopted first, then yeah.
So what we're looking to do here would be to approve this design review with potentially a requirement that there be bike parking near the vestibule, and then would be ask staff to
Coordinate.
contact city council to coordinate the artistic elements of the generator wrap.
I don't know if, well, the wrap for the generator is a suggestion of it's an available option. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be required, but if you think so, we always could. The bicycle parking, yeah, I could add that on as a condition of approval, which should be here in the staff report, but I'm not seeing it. But yes, there should be bike storage required, but we've already talked about it as possible.
And I would, if we are going to discuss the generator, I would like not to be pigeonholed by a wrap and be allowed to also have creative painting applied to it as well if we were going to change it.
Yeah.
We have some great artists within our community who may be able to come up with some sort of a design, or maybe it could be a new public thing.
Yeah.
Just make your entry to design our generator.
Better than a
It's a
cow.
lovely idea. Yeah.
Is there additional discussion from the board? So then I would be looking for a motion to approve the design review proposal, the proposed changes to the exterior of Lincoln Hall at 2 Lincoln Street, in accordance with the design review and historic preservation review criteria outlined in 604E of the LDC, with the additional requirement that the bike parking be added.
I motion to approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yay.
Opposed?
Okay. All those opposed? No option to oppose.
Thank you. And I don't know if you want, for the record, I never introduced myself when John. Harlan Smith. I'm carrying sort of 2 titles: Grounds and Facilities Director for Essex Junction Recreation and Parks, and the City of Essex Junction Building Coordinator.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks, Harlan.
All right.
Thank you. Oh.
Well,
Don't leave it there again.
I really like the design.
I go in the other door, but it's locked from the.
I was surprised because you opened it from this side.
Right.
I was
The,
like, it does
the
open.
drama only works on this side.
It was good. The drama only works one way.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Resume chair duties. Thank you very much for filling in. That was well done. And we have another development item 5A on our agenda, sign application determination for replacement of a freestanding sign at the Essex Town offices at 81 Main Street in the PRO District Historic Preservation Overlay. I have a little background on this because I redid 81 Main Street, and at the time, we were trying to replace the sign, but I don't think we ever built any consensus around that. It's been kind of that diagonal wood that was reminiscent of 81 Main Street before it got renovated. So I think it dates from the 60s or 70s. I can't tell you it's before my time. But there have been many discussions about replacing that sign. So with a little help from Mother Nature, it sounds like it's the time to go now. So we can dive right into that.
All right, so this one, the only reason that this is coming up as a DRB issue, as you've seen in the memorandum relating to this, is because of a sort of a discrepancy in our zoning regulations around signs, specifying that, let's see, I have to find the exact part. Yes. So in the section on things in the village center, design review is required by the DRB for any proposed construction, reconstruction, demolition, or exterior alteration of any building in the district, with the exception of sign permits, which are approved administratively. However, a different section refers to this, saying the purpose of the design review overlay district is to expand the design review standards used in the village center district. So saying that the exception of signs would expand out. However, there's another thing, let's see, also in the design review overlay district, says the same part, let's see, within the design review historic preservation overlay district, regular maintenance, exterior alteration, and change of use are exempt. Application of any new construction, proposed additions, demolition, or reconstruction of existing buildings within the design review district, and it doesn't mention signs at all. So yeah, and then there's.
So we're seeing it because you think it might be covered under something you cannot do administratively.
I'm trying to find. Here we go. Sign color redesigns. Yeah, so section 620 appears to be less stringent. There was another one that I'm trying to find exactly where it is that specifically said that. Design review. Yeah, so it's a little bit unclear if it needs to be under design review by the DRB.
All right. Did the board have any concerns or comments about the sign?
I mean, are we determining whether our group
We might as well
Yeah.
approve it.
needs to review it and then?
I don't think we are. I think we're just the way these things normally work is that if staff feels comfortable doing it administratively and they think it's within their power, they do. If they feel uncomfortable, they can always bring anything to us.
Yeah.
And so if they're even concerned that maybe they don't have the authority in this particular district to approve a sign, they can easily ask us to take care of, it. So we're taking care of it. So I'm not really worried about whether they think it's in our purview or not. It's
Okay.
always in our purview unless they've agreed that they have it in their administrative purview. So since it's here, let's do it.
Because I was going to say, like, I feel like with other projects coming down the line in the near future, maybe we should make sure that we review, because this is like, not a big, the
Right.
sign was there, but I just feel like there could be other instances where we would want to say yes or no to the sign. So I feel like we should
There are,
say, yes, we want them to bring it forward to this group, right?
Right. And so because of this discrepancy, I just wanted to point out one of the comments here, or something that Chris highlighted in the memorandum, that he also requests clarification from the DRB whether sign permits within the design review overlay district are indeed exempt for design review, or if they would be required by DRB review.
I think they should be required.
I'm not sure I'm prepared to answer that with a full, everything comes here. I mean, I sat through a meeting last week in another community where 18 sign permits came before my presentation, and I thought, well, they take their signs seriously. So, sometimes they come in with the development, sometimes they're required to be reviewed as a separate permit. In cases where it's a separate permit, usually there are very tight regulations on what the sign can be and how big and the letters have to be. So I forget how detailed our signage requirements are. We haven't seen a sign permit application in quite some time. So I'm happy to do this one. It's much, much, much smaller and less assuming than the one that blew down. It's in a way temporary, although you could take the municipal building out and put something else on the sign. In that the town is actively
Well, yeah, that was my
advancing
other question.
plans to relocate to the new property they purchased. So
Yeah.
we know they won't be here forever, but the sign might be here until the next windstorm. Right?
Do they take the sign with them when they go?
I believe that the only thing is that if they are vacating the building, they have to say that, like, okay, well, this isn't the municipal building anymore. Like, they have to
okay.
remove that part of the sign.
Okay.
But then the structure will remain for any purpose that takes that over, then can put a sign there in that spot.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say that previous discussions, is sort of off the record too, but previous discussions of what that sign should be included digital signage, with a
Scrolling.
well, not scrolling. We now have a regulation on what those signs can be, and you don't want to distract people, so you don't want.
Anything moving.
But they could change, and stay like that for a while, and then, dog licenses are due, kind of thing. So I feel what's been presented is very low key and very appropriate and very needed for the location. The design looks somewhat classic, a little less like the building than, it could, but since I had something to do with the building, I'm not probably the right person to make the judgment. I think the sign's fine. It's exactly what's expected. I think the posts look a little thin and, it probably might be a little longer lasting if they were beefier, but that's really my only comment. It's pretty straightforward New England signage. Anyone else?
But I mean, is it the case that you want us to decide whether our group? I mean, that's what it says, recommended motion.
Yes. So that is
If this group,
that is something we want clarification for in the future.
Okay.
So if we get more sign permits within the design review overlay district, and
I mean, I agree with John. I don't want to have it So we have like 20 signs that we have to review, but so the design review overlay district, isn't that just the city center and like kind of a little bit
down.
outline?
Yes,
So-
each of the 5 streets, all
Yeah.
of Pearl Street, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then each of a certain distance out from the city center. Everywhere else.
Because that's not all, I mean, I just feel like there could be some signage coming down the pike that we would want to look at and have a say in what it looks like. So I don't feel like this group should be exempt from that. I don't know. That's like a personal feeling. I mean,
I don't think this goes to us.
I
Or based on,
Well, I wouldn't call this regular maintenance, although you could. Regular maintenance normally covers things that are being replaced in kind, as in whatever came down is going back up, just newer, solid, not failed material.
but exterior alterations, I feel like regular maintenance and exterior alterations covers this.
Well, regular maintenance, again, if it's regular maintenance to me, I don't know the difference between before and after, except it's fixed. Exterior alterations seems like, okay, I changed something. So if we have purview over the design appearance of things in these districts, I don't know how those would be exempt. I have to go read all of this all over again, which I'm not prepared to do at the meeting.
Oh, Chris has joined us online. Hey, Chris, let us know if you have any comments about about this issue.
Yeah, I was just watching this on YouTube and thought it would be helpful for me to jump in and clarify what we're asking, why there's some lack of clarity here. So according to our interpretation of the LDC, the regulations in the village center zoning district says that sign permits are exempt from design review if it's just a standalone change of signage. They would still have to come to staff for administrative approval and meet the pretty tight criteria that's set within the LDC. It just that specific wording didn't get transferred to the broader design review overlay district. So to me, it seems that the intention would be that there are stronger rules within the village center than for design review than the broader design review overlay district, which covers all the major streets, pretty much anywhere we would see a sign. So that is why the recommendation I put on there was that that we treat it the same, we treat signs the same way in the broader design review overlay district as we do in the village center, which is that they would undergo administrative review only unless it is a part of a larger a full site plan review.
I guess I'm still confused as to whether if the general reading of this says that signs aren't covered. So if
And
they're
the-
not covered, why is it here? Unless,
I think they want us to confirm that we agree with that interpretation.
Right. It just doesn't say. It doesn't say for the design review overlay district whether or not it is exempt.
Yeah.
But it clearly says that it is exempt in
Village center.
village center zoning district.
Just looking for that clarification.
But if it's part of a larger project where we have full review, then that's when it comes to us. Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense to me.
All right. Well, I'm all geared up to approve it, but if you guys are saying I don't have to, because it's administrative, then we can delegate that authority back to, or just make it clear that we believe that it's fine if the sign permit application process stay administrative. And that applies to the sign. Anyone have a different?
I think, yeah, that
Difference
makes
of
sense.
opinion. Any comments from the public? We do have an exceptionally qualified person sitting with us who might be able to help us out. Diane.
The big hint is the PRO District Historic Preservation Overlay. And that historic preservation pieces are within your purview.
So I could call for the same sign to come back, is that what you're telling me?
Unfortunately. I would say onward and upward. Move on. Mother Nature disapproved. And we may as well just,
Took her a while, but she did.
well, hey, we'll let her have her way. But it's only because it's in that overlay.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would say that, it could be administrative. You could just say, we agree with administration and have fun.
So I'll take a motion to agree with administration.
Motion to agree with administration.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Your administrative purview is restored and off you go. And we have one more item on our agenda. It is discussion of construction progress at 94 Pearl Street. The staff notes indicated that probably nobody currently on the DRB except for me might remember anything about this project, and yet here is a very large building being built across from the fairgrounds, essentially. It is a hotel. I can tell you that when this came before the planning commission, it's that long ago, we were shown, we were reminded that we did not have design control over that parcel. We only had site plan approval. We were given renderings and likenesses of what might be here. It was a hotel chain that had a rendering of similar, we've done this 400 times and, this is what you're probably going to get. And now it's not that same hotel chain, and that happens all the time, like that somebody's interested and wants to be in a location and then they can't get a deal worked out, so they go find somebody else. So the point is, we never had design control. We never really saw what was going to be built. It's now under construction. We still don't know what it's going to look like. I don't. We aren't necessarily, at the time it was approved, we weren't given the purview to see what it was going to look like. But just one of the reasons why we had the LVC changed, because that seems unfair to the planning and progress efforts of a community not to know about these substantial buildings in the middle of high traffic areas. So I would love to see what's going on. I saw the designs here. This is now a Handy Suites. The architect listed in the drawings is the one that we've seen on the last couple of Handy projects. I'm guessing this got approved administratively somehow, or I wasn't even sure that the first building, which was alleged at the time to be a restaurant that would have been a supporting feature of the hotel, was approved that way, and is now not a restaurant, and in fact is, in my opinion, it's built backwards. That was, I feel like, anyway, it's hard to come up with a reason or the ability to say any of those things when you don't really have design control. So the site plan is still the site plan. The new building's going and, you know, where it was approved, I'm sure. The entries will be wherever they end up being because you know, I don't know how close to the original approved site plan the actual site plan is, but I guess that would be the one thing that we can say, hey, what's happening? So, do we have a presentation beyond the drawings here?
Only the drawings that we have in front of us, but I will pull those up and put them on Zoom now. There's just, the pages are at slightly different scale, so I might be zooming in and out, or like zooming in and out on Zoom. So.
So I was the DRB person who added this to the agenda, so I'm sorry.
No,
That we're
I've
so
been,
late.
I've been meaning to go in
Yeah.
and pull the old documents and see what they were because I'm just so curious. Like,
And I mean, I know we can't do anything about it, but it seems to me, and I was talking to Chris about this, is just it's really about the access onto the entry and exit points onto the street.
Yeah.
That seems like there's not between the Dollar Tree or what, I don't know which one that is, Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree, yeah.
And the building
And the Dollar
seems like, and then that's the front of in an extended stay hotel. So it's not technically a hotel, it's extended stay suites, which is very different. Not that we have control over the use, but it just seems like right there, the parking, you come in, and then that's the front of it where the lobby is going to be. It seems like there's not coming onto Pearl Street with the, you know, the market and the other shopping center on the other side. Like, it's almost like you're going to need a light. There's already a traffic problem. And so I go by there and I'm like, how is that going to work?
Your concern is congestion,
Yeah.
getting in and out.
Like the whole just in and out, and then the parking around the Dollar Tree, and then you're going to add a place where there's people coming in. It just, I don't
So there's
understand how it's
currently,
going to work.
At the market, right?
Yeah.
But it wouldn't cover, it's not like a four-way stop.
No, it's just like a little bit further down,
Yeah.
but it's enough that if you were going to go make a left, and then someone else coming in is going to make it seem, I don't,
so we have that center median there, right? Or the
Yeah.
center turning.
it seems
There's a
like
center
it's-
turn lane.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find, because one of the other site plans specifies the traffic flow around
okay.
I think it's Dollar Tree or is it Dollar General? I forget which.
It also doesn't
The
seem like
dollar.
it's wide enough
family.
right there, like that entry.
Yeah, but I'm scrolling back and forth here for the site plans because there's one here that specifies. So basically, this driveway here would be entrance only, and then this one would be exit only. So technically, to get to the lobby, the correct traffic flow would be coming in here, going around this building, then coming back up here, and then parking here to get to the lobby.
Oh, so you have to go in as if you're going to the Dollar Tree to get to the hotel. Is
I
that
believe so. I'm gonna
Okay.
check to see if, because I believe this part is only one-way traffic.
okay?
But let me find it to
Well,
be
that
sure.
I mean, that's
Oh no,
helpful.
it is two-way. Okay. Yeah, so over here you can
Yeah.
come, so it's one way right here, and then you can go either way, this way. So that's two-way, but then this driveway is still
Dollar Tree.
exit only.
Yeah.
It is Dollar Tree, okay.
So
Okay. I
Yeah.
see.
so you can't enter
You'd have to
as if
enter on
you're
this-
going exactly to the extended stay suites. You have to enter as if you're gonna go to the Dollar Tree.
And across either around back or in.
Or in front, yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of, yeah, still, I mean, and is there going to be signage to tell you to do it that way? Wouldn't there have to be?
And there would have to be. I think there are little
Yeah.
There's definitely gonna be the arrows painted on, but yeah, I wouldn't.
new exit only signs. There's some little
Okay.
you can see the notes, but the sign doesn't really show up.
And you know, the Pearl Street kind of
Oh, yeah, that's the entrance. only
is
exit sign.
not as wide there as it is in other places, so it kind of narrows there.
Yeah.
And so for like biking, I mean, there's just a lot going on in that little section where it just, yeah. it's unfortunate, and I was like looking for something and we can do to, I don't know, improve the situation. I don't know what that is, but
I'm going to invite Diane
Okay.
participate here as
It,
As a member
When
of the
we-
public with comment.
I will say that I asked Chris once, because I go up and down this street all the time. I live just a quarter of a mile from here.
I live even closer.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other day I saw a really good smash up that they were hauling the car off. So it's not a good situation with no signage or limited signage. Okay, because the road signage is poor because it's been roughed up and it's almost gone. There's no signs to say in and out. Okay, those have kind of like disappeared.
So we do have a note here for entry only sign and exit only sign.
Yes, if they only existed would be good.
Yeah.
And, sort of things. I've been watching that and it's kind of going, yes, the zone that this is in says that the front door is going to be on street side of. Then I think the planning commission made an allowance because of the orientation of the building, but still required them to have windows and the appearance that it was a street side entrance as opposed to the side of the building entrance. Because the restaurant was also supposed to have access between the two buildings, because that was going to be the restaurant for the hotel. Sort of a thing. And yes, the signage was supposed to happen. Well, I guess the operative word here is supposed. And so, I mean, as it is, the Good Stuff store doesn't have a full-fledged rain garden, even though it was supposed to have one. This one's supposed to have a full-fledged rain garden. At least the design of it shows it a lot better than what's going on. And yes, the traffic pattern was supposed to be one way until you got in between the two buildings, because then you could go in back and forth. As it is now, the Dollar Tree people do indeed seem to go in and park correctly, as you can see the diagonal parking. But having all the construction vehicles there building the building, there's, other than leading that way, there's little traffic that goes in that direction. There's no reason to do that.
And who's in charge of putting up the signage? Is that the city or is that the?
Oh, they would be putting up the developer, the builder, or something like that.
They have to put the sign.
Yeah, putting up the sign. It's usually one of the last things that goes through.
Okay.
I think that usually a sign requires like a separate sign permit unless it was part of the original building permit. I'd have to go back and check, but
I think offhand that it was going to be a separate sign
I think
permit
it would be a separate
because
sign
at the time, the zoning board would still be approving. When it was first approved, the zoning board was still responsible for approving signs.
yeah. And even so, having a separate sign permit is relatively new. As I put it together, one of my earlier tasks of working here, because up until a few months ago, it was just the regular zoning permit form would also work for signs. So we've since separated those out into two separate forms.
So before we give a certificate of occupancy, we can make sure that the signs that we like are in place.
Yes.
And then is there anything we can do, since there was supposed to be a restaurant there that was connected to the building, to the hotel, and that's not the case, but there is this really dark, not looking so great alleyway. I mean, now I know it's still under construction, but is there anything we can enforce as far as making that an actual pleasant walkway that has lights, and now that it's not going to be a
Connection.
connection point for a building that goes with the other building? Like, is there anything in our code
That one, I don't
with
think
lights or
we
something?
have any
You
direct.
could ask if there's a lighting permit or a lighting
A lighting-
documentation, and unless it's been submitted, it doesn't exist.
Can
There you go.
require a lighting permit?
Well, the lighting is supposed to be as submitted.
This is the lighting plan.
There you go.
And those, would have to be there. So, yeah, I have another point, which is, this whole thing was permitted as one thing. So until the whole thing is up to snuff, I would say somebody's CO can be held.
Well, I will say for the area that was proposed as a restaurant, that is now Good Stuff, that building, specifically, the change of use can be approved administratively, as long as the new use does not require, as long as the new use requires less parking, as long as it's lower intensity than the original approved use.
I'm just thinking about the rain garden and all the rest of the amenities and signage and
Lighting.
all the things that are supposed to be on the site plan.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I would say that a full review of this whole site plan should be done before any more COs happen. So they've got a while to work on that, but I think any interim visits by the city staff should include some, bring the whole plan with you and make sure the whole thing is done before it's done.
Right. So that will be part of our walkthrough whenever we go ahead and look around for the CO inspection. I believe they'll also have to send us as-built plans to show like if there's anything that changed during construction to update it and return that to us. So we'll be able to get a better comparison to what was approved and what was actually built when we have the as-built when construction is finished. But yeah, we'll do the normal inspection before a certificate of occupancy can be issued. Let's see.
And one other thing I don't see in the packet is the actual staff notes and planning commission approval with conditions that might be. We might have captured some of the, like Diane remembers apparently more than I do about what we were doing with the front end of the building, but it's not as much of a walk straight in off the street type of front end, which this whole district has had some difficulty kind of getting up off the ground in terms of what do we really want there? How do you comply with any of these things? This is essentially a multi-building development that is supposed to work together, but it's all somewhat disjointed in terms of what the parts and pieces are.
Yes, and then the planning commission is currently discussing this. I believe the city council is also going to be discussing and doing transit-oriented survey piece, because these Pearl Street, it has been difficult to get contractors and such to understand the concept of this area, and so obviously we're not communicating well, or otherwise they say no, I don't want to do that. But the idea was to have, I always had a hard grasp with pedestrian, given that this was very much a transit highway. It was originally 4 lanes and it's moved down to where it is now. So it's how do you get I guess in this case, how do you get the pedestrians to walk all the way down there? And start using pedestrians also read bicycles, because they'll also come afterwards. But it's supposed.
Well, don't we just have to write the ordinance and say this is what you have to do if you want to develop in this area? You have to make sure that it's pedestrian friendly and bike friendly. or you can't.
It pretty much does then.
So how do we enforce that?
It's
Well,
supposed to get a lot denser and
Yeah.
there could
Yes.
be a lot more of these and
Because
so
it's not safe to walk. There's no pedestrian friendliness
We-
on any of them right now,
Not right now with all the curb cuts and such,
Yeah.
no, it's not.
or bike friendly at all.
But I think with correct signage on the property plus on Pearl Street itself, the awful part ends up always being enforcement
Well, yeah, I mean, how,
as to and compliance
You need
by individuals. So you're right, this is a heavy duty transition zone right there. And there's a lot of business happening across the street from this right now with the new grocery store and the revised gasoline station and such.
we can also say that almost all the rest of the fast food places and other things that are further west down the street are existing non-conforming uses. They all have 2 driveways. You know, they're basically one-way loops, but none of those would be permitted now on this land. So they're there, that's fine, but they don't match the desired new pattern of how things are supposed to happen there. So it's a tough place to get, you know, to come to grips with, because you have the way it works now and the way we want it to work, and we still haven't meshed any of that. It's been, how long has the TOD been on the books there? 15 years?
Oh, maybe more. It preceded me. It was already
Yeah.
existing.
So, and I think this is the first thing that's really been developed on there that, I mean, none of those, some of the fast food and restaurants have been rebuilt a few times, but
Yes.
but nothing has been, you know, really come in and been proposed as newly complying with the district requirements.
Well, I think I think you, as the board here, has actually seen one on Pearl Street that came forward, and I felt, not sure if it got conceptual or not. But, which is farther down the street, farther west. But in this case, this one kind of fell through the cracks between the planning commission permitting conceptually to having it come through again. And in fact, I was looking at the plans that we have here, and as far as I know, the front of those buildings that are on this side of the street would be facing north. And I believe it says southeast. And there's no way. I'm sorry, but that's the other side of the street. So it's labeled incorrectly on the pieces. I know that the planning commission, even though we didn't have review, would ask for either a color scheme or a texture scheme, which is why the current proposal now is to ask for that design review,
Yeah.
because
Well, when
In
you
fact,
look at the literature that was proposed before, the building form and the you know, the use was the same, but the building itself was way more interesting, had a lot more roof activity. It was more similar to the Highland Village across, you know, at the other end of the
across the street.
part of the plaza than what we're seeing here.
This-
So it's a big step down.
It's definitely toned down.
It's hard to say when it changed because we weren't really supposed to see all that stuff anyway. But when that gets shown to you and you say, well, we don't have purview, but hey, that we can work with that. And then, you know, you get this. It's
Oh.
disturbingly,
The two-tone gray brown color of the Good Stuff building kind of set the community off as to not appreciating that building whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so if anything, I would say that the comments that I've heard, they essentially say, no, that one's going to be unique on Pearl Street. that and the fact that it has all those neon signs in the windows, which I think is against regulations, because there's probably too much neon in that building. But, you know, hey, what would I know about signs since we're talking about them now on the planning commission? So my concern is that this becomes a successful business that is serving the hotel needs that this community needs, and that it's pleasant to the eye when you go past it. But it's I mean, I know it's mud season right now, but you know, it's been a while since good stuff went in, and it still doesn't have the rain garden in. I'm kind of hoping that when these coordinate, maybe it'll happen, but.
Well, there's I refer to it as the drainage swale
Yeah.
Well, it is a
more
drainage
than
swale.
than a
It's not a
rain
rain
garden.
Call it
but-
rain garden.
All right. Well, I mean, we don't have any action we can take though, right? I mean, there's no,
We're just reviewing it at this point.
We need to hire enforcement officers. Fine people.
I will point out one other issue kind of related to the drainage swale, and maybe could explain why the rain garden there might not be finished. There's a portion of the sidewalk here that I believe is still like at a lower elevation. It's from a previous like driveway entrance on the site that hasn't been updated or changed. So that is something that will have to be fixed before issuing POs to make sure that that is a continuous sidewalk, you know, has the correct slope in the right places, things like that. So I'm guessing that they'll probably take care of the drainage at the same time that they're fixing the sidewalk. So yeah.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
and the shrubbery, the larger shrubs that are shown out by the sidewalk, are those?
Yeah. this
Does
is the
anyone recall
landscaping-
seeing those?
This is the landscaping plan. So let me scroll down.
I don't
to
think
the
those
key
are there
here.
yet.
Not yet. Landscaping usually goes in later, but here they're specifying the different kinds.
So it looks like there hasn't been any landscaping done on the buildings that are currently actively in use.
There were some grasses, tall grasses, and I wanted to believe they were intentionally, put in there, but I don't know.
They were not successful.
So if this was one plot or supposed to be one project, 3 buildings, how come we gave COs to the other 2?
Well, one was existing, so the
Oh,
dollar store was
Was it building?
already there.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was that the car dealer?
Yeah, it was a
that
car
was the
dealer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that was, there was never an intent, they were gonna repurpose it, but it was not newly constructed.
But then why did we allow for the CO on the other one when it was supposed to go with, it was supposed to be paired? Or-
I'm not sure.
I can't, I have all the same questions and
I
and
will
I,
have to track back through the paperwork to get an answer to that one specifically.
Yeah.
All that I know is that the change of use was allowed to be done administratively. I don't know if or why, if the CO was actually, is Crystal here? No, he stepped out. Yeah, so I believe the CO has been issued on that one. If it's up and operational, yeah, I'd have to track back to the paperwork
well, hopefully it's
why.
conditional or something, because
because it's
I would
combined.
say that even the
Long.
components of the landscaping and so forth that belong to that building proper are not there. So,
Yeah.
Can we ask for a report on what potential options, I mean, limited though they may be, the DRB has to,
can we ask for a schedule? Do we, can we get their intended completion date and when the landscaping happens and when they believe they're gonna be, requesting the C of O?
I'm not sure. I know that construction's, progressing along, but I haven't been inside. I haven't been anywhere near it. Just, walking by exterior. No idea. I have no idea when they'll be requesting the CO, but I just know that we'll have to do the inspection before
Yeah.
issuing.
But can our committee request a timeline? Are we allowed to do that?
think we just did. We're,
Oh,
we're,
okay.
we're requesting staff.
We are requesting.
Staff go,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
see what they can find out. We don't probably have to talk to them directly anymore. Thank you, Harlan.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Anything else on your minds tonight before we adjourn? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Happy to.